Heat turns water into vapor, a gas that rises through the air. And cold makes vapor condense to liquid and fall back down everywhere. Heat turns water into vapor, a gas that rises through the air. And cold makes vapor condense to liquid and fall back down everywhere.
We are water molecules and we're on an epic journey all around. It's called the water cycle, from the sea to the air to the ground.
Evaporation, water turns to vapor. Condensation, vapor turns to drops. Precipitation, drops fall down and they collect all over the ground. Evaporation, water turns to vapor. Condensation, vapor turns to drops. Precipitation, drops fall down and they collect all over the ground.
We can fall as many things like rain or sleet or snow. And we collect almost anywhere, wherever water freezes or flows. You can call it the hydrologic cycle too.
And they even cycle in and out of animals, plants, and you.
Ew.
Heat turns water into vapor, a gas that rises through the air. And cold makes vapor condense to liquid and fall back down everywhere. Evaporation, water turns to vapor. Condensation, vapor turns to drops. Precipitation, drops fall down and they collect all over the ground. Evaporation, water turns to vapor. Condensation, vapor turns to drops. Precipitation, drops fall down and they collect all over the ground.
All right, welcome everyone. I do hope you guys are hearing me perfectly today. I'm your host, Karine Parks, and I'm the Assistant Education Outreach Officer at the Natural History Museum of Jamaica. And I do hope that you guys are here to have fun and that you guys are here to learn something new. I don't know what to say about that water cycle song, but I was hoping, well, I wish it was there when I was going to primary school, because probably I would be versed at the water cycle by now. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed it because it was a very catchy song. And I just want to apologize for starting late. We were just giving persons time to join in on the session for today. And also we're having a bit of a technical difficulty also. All right, so let's get straight into the program for today. The theme, the theme for today is the cleaner is greener, cleaner is greener, gardening and me. And this is surrounded under the Biodiversity Awareness Programme that the Natural History Museum of Jamaica and the Trans-Jamaica Highway is a part of. Okay, so the presentation theme for today is water harvesting and groundwater, making the invisible visible. Everybody hear that clearly? Just give me a hand raise if you hear that clearly. So the presentation theme for today is water harvesting and groundwater, making the invisible visible. Okay, so I just want to welcome all the schools that are under the program, the Biodiversity Awareness Program. And as I call each school's name, I want you to give me a raised hand to identify if we have a representative from the school or the club members are here. Okay, so Freetown Primary, can you give me a hand raise if we have anybody from Freetown joining us today? We also have Independent City Primary School. and the Rosewell Primary School. So I'm seeing Rosewell Primary School. Welcome, Rosewell, and thank you for making the time out to join us today. Chandler's Pen Primary, do we have anybody here from Chandler's Pen Primary? Yes, some students connecting, so probably they're having some
Yes,
challenges.
Miss Chandler's Pen Primary is here, Miss.
Okay, welcome. Welcome, Chandler's Pen Primary. Do we have Morris Primary with us today? Okay, so I want to thank everybody that's joining us here today, and I'm seeing that we do have representative from the Natural History Museum of Jamaica. Thank you guys for joining us and for your usual support. So before we start into the meat of the matter, I just have some layouts for you guys, some rules to use the raise hand icon if you wish to ask a question or clarity on something. Also, do not unmute your mic unless you're told to do so. And last but not least, wait until the end of the presentation to ask questions. All right. So we do have a fun lineup for you guys today. And I just want to start off the program with our fun zone session that will be done by Ms. Shamir Laws, and it's titled Thumbs Up or Thumbs Down Garden by, yeah. So Shamir, you can explain, you can give us all the excitement on that, and we'll just play along. So handing over to Shamir.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shemer Laws. I'm a research officer here at the Natural History Museum of Jamaica. While I get set up, if you're having a good day, can I get a thumbs up? Thumbs up if you're having a good day, good. If you're having a bad day, thumbs down. Okay, great, no bad days. All right, let me get set up here. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes, we're seeing.
All right, so let's get into it. So this activity is called Thumbs Up or Thumbs Down Garden Edition. So the rules are that you'll be given a statement, and if the statement is true, you click your thumbs up button, or if it's false, you click thumbs down. Are you guys ready? I need everybody to participate. Old, young, in between, thumbs up or thumbs down. So the first one is plants do not need water to grow. Thumbs up if that's true, thumbs down if that is false. I see one thumbs down, one thumbs up. Anybody else? Thumbs down. So the answer is false, thumbs down. Plants do need water to grow. The next one, photosynthesis is the process by which plants use sunlight to make food. So thumbs up if it's true, thumbs down if it's false. So 2 thumbs up so far. Anybody else? Anybody else? So the correct answer is thumbs up. Next, bees are bad for your garden. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down. I see 1 thumbs down. Anybody else? 2 thumbs down. Anyone else? All right, so the answer is false. Thumbs down is correct. These are pollinators and are good for your garden. The next one is the term for planting seeds is called sowing. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Remember, thumbs up is true, thumbs down is false. Thumbs up. Anybody else? 2 thumbs up so far. All right, thumbs up is correct. Next one, hummingbirds can help pollinate flowers. Thumbs up or thumbs down? 1 answer so far. Anybody else? 2, anyone else? Okay, the answer is thumbs up. That is correct. All right, next one. Fertilizer is used to get rid of insects. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up being true, thumbs down being false. Fertilizer is used to get rid of insects. All right, I see thumbs down, that is correct. Fertilizer is used to add nutrients to the soil. Next one, germination is the process of seeds developing into new plants. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Anybody else? Nobody else? The correct answer is thumbs up. All right, next one. Corn is an example of a root crop. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up for true, thumbs down for false. 1 thumbs up. Anybody else? That is correct. Not correct. Corn is not a root crop. Root crops would be like potato, carrots, beetroot. So thumbs down would have been the correct answer. Next one, all insects are pests and will harm your garden. Thumbs up for true, thumbs down for false. All insects are pests and will harm your garden. 1 thumbs down. Anybody else? All right, thumbs down is correct. Some insects are beneficial for your garden. All right, the last one. Oxygen is a nutrient found in soil. Thumbs up if it's true, thumbs down if that's false. 1 thumbs down. Anybody else? Anybody else? This is the last one. All right, 1 thumbs down. That person is correct. Oxygen is found in the atmosphere. Nutrients found in soil are nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. All right, thank you for playing. I now hand over back to Karine. I hope you learned something.
Boy, Shamir, you have to ask a question. Before I was scrolling down, I was going to say Charmaine James. I'm not sure which school you're representing, but boy, Charmaine, I'm going to tell you, so you're well bright.
Right, very
But
bright.
then when I scrolled down, I saw that you have other persons.
Oh, I couldn't see. I could only see what was at the top.
Doing the thumbs up. So Charmaine, I know you're alone, bright. We have a whole heap of bright people. We have a whole heap of bright people on here today. So same, just like how you guys participate in Shamir's Fun Zone session, that's how I want you guys to just participate throughout the entire session and just write down your questions. So when our presenter come, you can just throw the questions at him. Okay, guys? Thank you, Shamir, for that fun session. I did enjoy it, and I know that everybody else enjoyed it. And they both learned something as well. All right, so moving along, I'm going to invite Miss Tiona Thomas to do the introduction of our guest presenter for today. Tiona, I'll now hand over to you.
Good day, everyone. So our guest speaker, he is a geographer and researcher by profession, who is the Director of Research and Development and Fieldwork Supervisor for Marisol Research Solutions, a Jamaican research company. He is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Mona, with a degree in geography. He has also worked with government, private sector, and non-governmental organizations on local, regional, and international projects in the areas of agriculture, climate change, climate information, food security, COVID-19, tourism, urban planning, GIS, and entrepreneurship. He is also an active youth leader, where he is currently the national coordinator for the Jamaican chapter for the Caribbean Youth Environment Network, CYEN. He previously served as country coordinator and delegate at the United Nations Conference on Youth, where he represented Jamaica internationally. He was also at one point in the past president of the University of the West Indies Geographical Society from 2014 to 2015. Our guest presenter for today is Mr. Adrian Enriquez.
Sorry, my apologies, everyone. Good afternoon. I was just trying to unmute so I could share my screen. So let me go ahead and share my screen now so as to deliver my presentation to you all. So hi, boys and girls, hi, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Tell me, can anyone indicate to me if they're seeing my screen?
Yes, we're seeing your screen, Adrian.
You're seeing it? Seeing the screen?
Yes, we're seeing the screen and hearing you clearly.
Okay, okay, thank you. So guys, so ladies, boys and girls, let me go ahead and begin my presentation. Okay. So as was previously said, the presentation today is the theme for the presentation is water harvesting and groundwater, making the invisible visible. And this is tying into the whole idea of how water harvesting and groundwater are crucially important. So as said before, and as said previously, this is just a brief synopsis of me, as was previously said by Tiona. So no particular need to really go over that, and you can look at these for a few seconds. All right, so in this year's theme, making the invisible visible, the focus is really on groundwater, which is an invisible resource with an impact visible everywhere. So even though you can't see groundwater visibly, it does not mean it is there. As a matter of fact, groundwater is found underground in aquifers, which are rocks that are good at storing water, which are geological formations of rock, sands, and gravel that hold substantial quantities of water. Now, groundwater feeds springs, rivers, lakes, and wetlands and seeps into the oceans. And of course, groundwater plays a very crucial role, even down to the water that we drink. Now, groundwater is recharged mainly from rain and snowfall. Snowfall, for those of us who might know persons or have been to countries outside of Jamaica, like in the United States and in Europe and in other places down in the southern part of the world. Now, groundwater is recharged mainly from rain and snowfall infiltrating the ground. Groundwater can be extracted to the surface by pumps and wells and even pipes, which feed into our homes and our schools and many of the places that we go. Now, life would not be possible without groundwater. And this is very true. And that most dry areas in the world, that is to include deserts, depend entirely on groundwater. So even though they look dry on the surface, if you were to dig deep enough, or if you were to go to an oasis, for example, you find that groundwater is there. Now, groundwater supplies a large portion of the water we use for drinking, sanitation, that is to do with disposal of solid waste and other forms of waste, food production, and industrial processes. So even the very food we eat, the very electronics that we use, and the very cars that are being driven around, water played a role in their production. Now, this is just an illustration of World Water Day's importance to us, as you can see, especially by the image on the right, that groundwater supports the very, very human activities that we so rely on. Our towns, our cities, even our mountains, and even the energy that we produce, whether from the sun or from windmills, as you can see in the picture on the right, and even the other activities like recreation, as you can see on the image in the left, are dependent on the use and the dependence on groundwater. Now, this is just groundwater in Jamaica, just a synopsis. Now, groundwater in Jamaica is mainly monitored and solely monitored by the Water Resources Authority of Jamaica, which is a government agency responsible for managing and regulating the country's freshwater resources. So even before water is distributed to you, the fact is the WRA plays a role in identifying and ensuring that water is available somewhere and before it's distributed to you. And as the map shows, you're looking at some watersheds really. Now, watersheds are really, and the green dots that you see and red dots are basically areas in which WRA regularly monitor groundwater across the country. Now, groundwater distribution is mainly done by the National Water Commission, which is the country's main provider of water and sewage services. Now, NWC, like National Water Commission, NWC, like NWA, is a government agencies. And here are images of what are logos of what the two agencies are. Now, groundwater represents 30% of the world's fresh water. Now, the other 70%, nearly 69%, which is in ice caps and in mountains, like the ones that you saw in the illustration, and merely 1% is found in rivers and lakes. Now, groundwater accounts for 1/3 of the world's fresh water consumed by people, that's by us. But in some parts of the world, this can reach up to 100%. Now, that 100% is really in very small island countries like Barbados and many of the Pacific islands in other parts of the world, which rely entirely on groundwater. Now, groundwater is a very important natural resource and plays a very significant role in the economy. So even the very businesses, our learning, our activities, recreation, all of that is tied to the use of groundwater. You may not necessarily recognize it, but yes, it does. And it is the main source of fresh water for irrigation and the food industry. In general, groundwater is a reliable source of groundwater for even agriculture that can be used in many ways. And as you can see here in the image, this is an example of water that is stored underground. And in aquifer, now aquifers are basically rocks and even sand traps that are underground that are very good at storing large quantities of water, as you can see. Now, why is groundwater important? Now, for the environment, groundwater plays a very important role in maintaining the water level that you see flowing into rivers, lakes, and even wetlands. Now, especially during drier months when there's little recharge or direct recharge from rainfall, it provides the environment with enough groundwater flow to make sure that there is enough life for the very plants and animals that you see around you, and the very plants and animals depend heavily on these things. Now, groundwater plays a very key role in sustaining navigation through inland waters, that's through rivers and lakes and other water bodies, especially in the drier seasons when there is drought. Now, by discharging groundwater into rivers, it helps to keep the water levels higher. So the more groundwater is being replenished, is the greater the chances we have of surviving drought and even having access to water itself. Now, why is groundwater so important? Now, what I'm going to play here is a small video, which is around 43 seconds, which will basically give you a synopsis of why groundwater is really important and how it impacts us. So guys, take a listen.
Hi, Adrian, we're not hearing anything.
Oh, you're not hearing anything?
No.
Okay. Let me try and thanks for letting me know that, letting me be aware. I want to see if I can try and fix that. Let me try and see if I can fix that. Are you hearing it now? Hello? Are you hearing it now?
No, we're still not hearing anything.
Oh, surprised by that. All right. I'm not sure how to remedy that. I turned up my volume and the video is playing. So I'm not hearing it. Okay. Sorry? Hello?
No, I'm saying that you need to share audio.
Oh, how do you do that?
Try resharing
Okay.
and select the share audio.
Okay. Let me do that. How do you share audio? Share. Oh, okay, I see it. I see it. No problem. Okay. All right. My apologies, boys and girls, for that mishap there. Let me know if you're hearing it.
Not all the rainwater
Yes,
flows
we're hearing
through
you.
rivers and ultimately into oceans. Some of it is absorbed by the soil. This water is known as groundwater. Although it is not visible, it is almost everywhere, flowing beneath the ground under your home, cities, farms and deserts. Groundwater is an important source of fresh water on Earth. It is the source of water for many lakes and wells. Many of us drink groundwater every day. That is because hand pumps and tube wells tap groundwater to provide water for consumption.
All right, so that's the video at 43 seconds. So let's continue. So boys and girls, this is pretty much groundwater in statistics. So this is looking at the entire world, how much water is being used every year. So as you can see, 67% of the world's groundwater is used in irrigation for food production. So the very banana chips and even the very food that you eat at a restaurant or fast food or anywhere really. A lot of that really, if you look back at the source, comes through irrigation, and 67% is really accounted for in that. Now, 22% of all groundwater is used for domestic purposes. So when you go to drink water at home or to wash your hands or even to dispose of waste, that 22% is accounted for, and 11% of groundwater is used for industry. Now, industry to do with things like electronics and cars and so forth, and other industries involved in our daily lives. Now, this is groundwater statistics in Jamaica. And as you can see, groundwater recharge accounts for 3.89 cubic kilometers as across the country. So as you can see that from the statistics, groundwater in Jamaica plays a very key role even in our very lives, even the very fact that we have it. Now, this is groundwater in relation to World Water Day. So you may ask the question, what is World Water Day? Now, World Water Day, which is held on March 22nd annually every year, is observed by the UN, that is United Nations, and it basically celebrates water and raises awareness of the 2 billion people around the world, especially living without access to water. So boys and girls, even though there are 7.5 billion people on this planet, 2 billion people to this day still have little or no access to water, to at least to reliable water. And this is of real concern. It may not seem so to you, but split up across the world, it accounts for 2 billion people just not having access to it. And this is why things like this, celebrating World Water Day, highlighting the importance of groundwater, comes into play and how important it is. Now, a core focus of World Water Day is to inspire action towards the Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, number 6, that is to do with water and sanitation for all by 2030. And is World Water celebrated in Jamaica? The answer is yes. It's celebrated not only by the Institute of Jamaica, but even by the very government agencies, many private sector companies, and many non-governmental organizations. For example, even the one that I'm a part of, we commemorate World Water Day annually. And groundwater is invisible. Like I said before, it may seem invisible, but it's very visible, but its impact is visible everywhere. out of sight and under our feet, groundwater is a hidden treasure that enriches our lives. So even the very processes that we depend on heavily depend on groundwater. Now, groundwater plays a critical role in adapting to climate change. Now, climate change, as many of us might hear, it's a new problem. It's not so new, really, but climate change is putting a lot of strain and pressure on the planet. And many times, if we take care of groundwater, I mean, we will have enough to last even the very harsh effects posed by climate change. Now, this emphasizes the fact that we need to work together as a country and as a planet to sustainably manage groundwater as a precious resource. Now, what can we do about groundwater? Now, we must protect groundwater from pollution and use it in a way that is sustainable, balancing the needs of the people, that's us, and the planet, the very environment in which we depend on and which depends on us. Now, groundwater's vital role in water and sanitation, that is waste disposal, agriculture, industry, and even the natural environment, ecosystems, and climate change must be reflected in the way policymakers, that's our governments, how they have to put policies in place to protect the very groundwater in which we depend on and which we rely on. Now, as I said before, with regard to the United Nations goal number 6, now goal number 6 of the UN SDGs comprises of clean water and sanitation. Now, in case many of us or some of us don't know what the UN SDGs are, these are basically a set of goals that were set out in 2015 to ensure that there is sustainable development going forward in how we manage and take care of the very planet. Now, Jamaica was one of the countries that signed up to the UN SDGs in that year. Now, this is looking at access to fresh water in Jamaica. So in Jamaica, over 80% of Jamaicans have access to clean, potable, that's drinking water. Now, the majority of Jamaicans with access to water live in urban areas, mainly Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, Montego Bay, Old Cheras, Mandeville, Port Antonio, and even other less important urban areas or less key urban areas. Now, as you can see from the image, that the majority of persons with access to water live in urban areas, and even less persons live in rural areas. Now, this image was sourced from the Water Resources Authority of Jamaica and the United Nations Environment Programme in 2016. And as you can see, there's a total of 93 persons, or 93% in Jamaica that have access, that's in urban areas that have access to groundwater. Now, this is now looking at water harvesting and groundwater. Now, you may ask, what is water harvesting? Now, basically what water harvesting is, it means the capturing of water where it falls or it's captured in your own village or town. Now, this is to ensure that water is kept clean by not allowing pollution to take place in the containment or in the catchment in which you catch water. Now, how is water harvesting done? Now, water harvesting can be done in a number of ways, by catching water from rooftops via rainfall, or catching water from surrounding areas, or capturing seasonal floodwaters, whether from rain or from local water bodies like rivers, streams, and lakes, or even conserving water through watershed management. Now, watershed management is very important. Now, without managing our watersheds, this can negatively affect our supply and even our access to groundwater. Now, this is looking at water harvesting and groundwater again. Now, in Jamaica, our water resource is oftentimes mismanaged, which is very well true. However, water harvesting can prevent instances in which, through the adoption of the following practices. So basically, what I'm saying, these are ways in which we can prevent the mismanagement of our groundwater. Now, we can ensure that water catchment areas can be put in place for both public and private buildings. And we can ensure that water collected should be stored in containers which are safe from insects and rodents. Now, households, such as those in which many of us live, can store water in tanks for backyard gardening and even for later use. And water can be stored in black tanks for subsistence farming outside of the usual irrigated areas. So persons involved in farming and in agriculture, this is where water harvesting plays a key role. Now, this is looking at water harvesting and groundwater in Jamaica. Now, in Jamaica, many households and even businesses, schools, and communities harvest water, and you'll see pictures of this soon. Now, water harvesting is really done to make up for the lack or sometimes the shortfall in where, there are water restrictions, water lockoffs, or even so, sometimes water harvesting is really done as a way of trying to save on the cost of consuming and producing water. So many times, even though we have access to water, because of the cost involved, sometimes we want to harvest that extra water naturally so that we can have it, the extra to carry us through sometimes. Now, there are several water harvesting projects being done in Jamaica, and many of these are being done by the very government agencies that I mentioned and others like the National Irrigation Commission, the National Environment and Planning Agency, and even private companies like Jamaica National Bank are involved in something called the Water Project Jamaica. And even many NGOs and many international organizations are involved in other large and small scale water harvesting projects in Jamaica. Now, these are some pictures of water harvesting in Jamaica. As you can see on the right, a black tank is being used to harvest water. And as you can see on the lake, now the lake may look natural, but it's actually artificial. What they did is to basically, they put some kind of layer on there to capture the water so that it doesn't infiltrate into the ground. And at the same time, you might see in the image that there's a pump trying to take some of that water out to be used for whatever use, whether it's be domestic or agricultural or so forth. Now, water harvesting and school gardens. Now, you may ask, what's a school garden? Now, school gardens are a wonderful way of using a schoolyard as a classroom. Basically, it's kind of an agricultural classroom to kind of connect students with the natural world and their true source of food and teach them the valuable gardening and agricultural concepts and skills that integrate with several subjects such as math, science, art, health, PE, physical education, social and social studies, as well as several educational goals, including your personal and social responsibility. So school gardens also act as a way of promoting food security. So let's just say that there is a cutoff of supply of food. You can turn to your school garden to make up for that shortfall. Now, school gardens and water harvesting. Now, water harvesting ensures that your school garden has reliable access to an important source of water for the crops and plants, especially in times where your ordinary source of water comes under strain. Now, these are examples of school gardens in Jamaica. Now, the one you see on the left is at Little London High School in Western Jamaica in Westmoreland, and there's one on the right at Mount Peter Primary School in Hanover, Jamaica. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was my presentation. Thank you very much. And the floor is now open to any questions and answers or comments you may have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Adrian, for that wonderful presentation. I did enjoy it and I did learn something new today. So guys, as Mr. Henriquez said, if you do have any questions or you need clarity on anything from the presentation, you are free to do a raise hand and then I'll let you speak and ask your question. So do we have any questions from the presentation? Let me scroll down. Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions. So if you guys don't want to ask any questions.
Guys, you're welcome to ask questions, this is where you learn.
May I ask you guys questions since you guys don't want to ask any questions? Because I know you guys learned something because he gave some valuable points, some very interesting points. Okay, so my first question is, let me look on my paper. So in the beginning of his presentation, he was talking about an organization that is responsible for supplying water, monitoring water in Jamaica. Can anybody tell me which organization did he speak of? You can just type a chat or you can do a raise hand and I'll address. Okay, anybody? Groundwater in Jamaica is solely monitored by which? Okay, thanks, Miss Laws. So the Answer is the Water Resource Authority of Jamaica. Okay, anybody have any questions they would like to ask from the presentation?
Come
Or
on,
you want
guys,
me
feel
to
free to
continue?
ask. You're welcome to ask. I'm here to help.
Okay, my next question is then, let me see. Groundwater represents how many percentage of fresh water across the world? You want me to repeat it? Groundwater represents how many of the world's fresh water? Going once, going nobody no remember? Oh, never did I pay attention? Who want me to call name then? Shamir, that wrong. It's not 22%. Megastar call name. This come like when we in a class and nobody know what answer, don't. Okay. Let me hear from Roswell Primary. A representative from Roswell Primary. How many percentage of water, of how many, hold on, groundwater represents how many percentage of fresh water? I need a representative from Roswell Primary to answer that. Okay, nobody from Roswell? Okay, let me scroll. Okay, let's see my bright sparks down here. So Charmaine James from Chandler's Pen Primary. Charmaine James, you want me to repeat the question? Say it goes, groundwater represents how many of the world's fresh water? How many percentage, Charmaine? Go ahead. Remember, you did a fight me with the thumbs up. Miss James from Chandler's Pen, are you hearing me? Let me see too. Oh, so Charmaine said she's not sure. Okay, so let me give you guys the answer. And Adrian, you can let me know if I'm giving them the correct answer, right?
Okay, sure,
so
I will
I
let you
have
know.
30%.
And you're correct, actually.
Oh, okay then. Okay, anybody else have any question? Miss Thomas, you have any question? Miss Cole, you have any question you would like to ask? Yeah. Mr. Campbell, do you have any question? Okay, Miss Thomas, I have a question for you. What is groundwater? No, because I don't want me start calling him, so I go call him. You're typing your question, Miss Thomas. Okay, go ahead, we're waiting. We're waiting on the question. Okay, Adrian, so her question is, how can we protect Jamaica's groundwater?
All right, to answer that question, who said that Charmaine is the one that asking the question?
No, Tiona Thomas.
Okay, how we can, well, there are several ways in which we can protect Jamaica's groundwater. One of them is to ensure that we don't pollute the sources in which provide us with groundwater. In one, we also have to make sure that our governments, that's not just central government, but even our local governments, the governments of the towns, the municipalities, pass policies that ensure that our groundwater is kept safe. We can also protect Jamaica's groundwater by ensuring our part as individuals. We do our part as individuals in making sure that we don't waste groundwater, we also have to ensure that we actually try to even do activities that promote groundwater, the use of groundwater, like water harvesting. This is why water harvesting is important, because water harvesting ensures that there's a backup of supply and that we're not using groundwater in excess. We also have to play a part in trying to educate people on the importance of climate change and how climate change threatens our supply of groundwater.
Okay, thank you, Adrian.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
so I see a hand raised from Eartha Cole. You can go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Thanks for your presentation,
Sure.
Mr. Enriquez. I just want to ask, what are some of the ways schools can harvest the rainwater on their
All right.
compound?
Okay, all right. So what are the ways, you're basically saying what are some of the ways in which schools can harvest groundwater?
Right.
Okay, so some of the ways schools can harvest groundwater is by building artificial tanks. For example, if you can buy a tank, a rhino tank, for example, you can build an artificial one out of concrete to harvest rainwater. What you need really is that kind of catchment to store groundwater and to pipe groundwater, let's just say to the building or to your school garden, which actually needs it, especially in a time of water strain on where there may be a water restriction. So the water, by doing this, you're harvesting groundwater by building the kind of artificial network. You also have to make sure that you put in measures or ways to protect its use, make sure that it's not wasted. For example, let's just say you build an artificial tank out of concrete to harvest groundwater. We have to make sure that children and even staff don't waste groundwater or don't waste that excess groundwater, especially in times where there are lockouts and restrictions. This is not to say that you can't use water from regular sources, but harvesting groundwater serves as a very good backup, especially in instances where there will be lockouts or where there will be restrictions.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, Adrian.
Uh-huh.
I know a very common way that persons harvest water, they usually use like drums.
Drums?
Drums.
Yes, that's one way. That's true.
So runoff from, probably they have a channel from the house, and
Yes.
then that water would run into a drum.
Yes,
at
that's
the
correct.
side.
Or yes,
That's a
one
very
way.
common one.
That's a very common one. Or also what some persons use the drums to do is rely directly on rainfall, especially in the rainfall periods. No,
Yes.
what I have seen in some parts of Jamaica is this is why I mentioned a concrete structure, is that some homes, they actually do this, especially when there is no availability of NWC water. Because believe it or not, there are parts of Jamaica that NWC does not serve because it's just too far to reach, it's too remote. So what some of those places do, they build artificial concrete structures to capture groundwater. They have like a sheet of zinc running off into it. It stores that groundwater, and that groundwater, they build an artificial piping network to pipe that water stored into the building or to whatever agricultural plots that they serve. But it's a good way, even in areas you do have access, it's a good way because you never know when a lockout can exist, especially given what's happening now with climate change and with, the impending threat, with the existing threat of what's happening overseas, putting a strain on the costs, and given that the government is trying to restrict water use to preserve water, this is where backup systems like these, the drums, the concrete structures, play a key role.
Okay, so thanks, Adrian.
Sure.
I'm seeing a raised hand from Tracy Comock. You can go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you so much, Karine. Good job. Mr. Henriquez, thank you for such an interesting presentation.
Sure.
Especially on this very special day.
Right.
We have a lot of students with us today, and I just wondered if you could share with them how you got into this career, what they would need to do, and just in terms of a typical day in your life, or even a month or whatever, what you consider to be most rewarding.
Great. That's a motivating question, really. So how I got into this career really is from the time I was a child. I started to think about my career in the long term, but even like so from as early as 10 years old, really. And even though I thought about it, I did not just stick to what I thought. I also tried to find out, even from my teachers and from my school, what are the career options in my career field, or also what are the organizations involved in Jamaica, and how fruitful is it in generating an income and in also trying to network with people. So as I went to high school, my understanding of it started to evolve. And as I went to university, it also started to evolve further. So I started now to network outside of my circle. That's outside of the school that I'm used to, or outside of the people that I'm used to start to network with the wider world. What's my organization, what's my career field doing, even internationally, and how does Jamaica benefit, or how is Jamaica involved in this? And a typical day in my career field would be like, reading, doing research on what from time to time, what on the things that are on the developments and the affairs that are happening. And what really motivates me is not just the income. There are a lot of very good income making opportunities from them. We're talking even in US dollars, you can make a good amount of money from it. But what really motivates me is the difference that you make on the ground in educating not just students, but even the very people who are not so well versed, or they don't understand this very well, but they're impacted by it. And that really is a motivating factor for me.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
Sure.
sharing that with us.
Thank
Sure.
you, Adrian. Okay, so I have two questions from Shamir Laws. The first one is, do groundwater levels change during periods of drought?
The actual answer is yes. The drier it is, the lower the levels. However, I must say that in places or in areas that have very deep water levels, or water levels that are very high, the deeper you go, is the more likely you're going to still going to find groundwater, because places with very large water tables, for example, have sufficient access to water still, even especially when there is drought that's severe. How important is groundwater for food security? That's absolutely important. The more groundwater available is, the greater chances of there is a food security. Because with food security, you're talking about growing your food, manufacturing your food, and even distribution. Because we're not just talking about using groundwater to grow food, but even transportation and manufacturing. Because manufacturing does use groundwater, factories use it. Even simple production systems in a mill, they are in a silo, they use it. And even transportation, you use it for vehicles, and even for people involved in it, they use it. So the more available, not just more available groundwater is, but the better you manage it, is the greater your country's food security is. So Jamaica right now stands a better chance than many countries in managing food security. Well, sorry?
Oh, can go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, okay, sorry, all right. So I was saying that Jamaica stands a better chance than many countries in managing its food security, because there are policies in place that do protect groundwater. There are the institutions involved, like those I previously mentioned in my presentation, by the government. Even the private sector is starting to have a greater appreciation of how groundwater is important to them, especially the banks. The banks use a significant amount of groundwater for their bathrooms. So protecting groundwater ensures that even their businesses stay afloat at some point. Even your KFC, your Pizza, all of these guys use groundwater. So if water is gone for some time, they may close the store for a day. So this is why it's important.
Okay, thank you so much, Adrian. You see, I told you guys, this is like class. Sometimes you sit in class and the teacher asks you a question, and everybody just sit down. They have the questions, but they're afraid to ask. Sometimes you have to pull it out of them. You see how much questions you get, Adrian?
I know. I have you to thank for nudging them.
Okay, so thank you so much for your presentation. Again, it was a very interesting one and a very fun one. So we're going to close today's session. And I do hope that you guys made your notes, so if teacher asks you something about groundwater or the water cycle, you guys will be able to answer and answer correctly. Okay, so but before I close, I want to do a shout out to our viewers on our YouTube platform who are joining us today. Thank you guys so much for always supporting us and tuning in. And guys, the presentation will be shared on our YouTube page if you want to go back and watch it, or you wish to, share it with somebody. All right, so I'm going to hand over to Tiona Thomas. She will be sharing a video with us.
To be drunk, water, refreshing thing we need to live. We love water, we care about water. We need water, we protect the water. Water, the plants needed to grow up. Water, the sky cries and it falls down. Water, rivers, oceans, lagoons and pools. Water, a gift from earth, a gift to you. Water, the most beautiful resource. Water, in transparency you can see. Water, delicious liquid to be drunk. Water, refreshing thing we need to live. We love water, we care about water. We need water, we protect the water. Oh, we love water, we protect the water. Water, the plants needed to grow up. Water, the sky cries and it falls down. Water, rivers, oceans, lagoons and pools. Water, a gift from earth, a gift to you.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful video, very catchy song. All right, so guys, just wanted to inform you guys that you guys can keep a lookout on our social media platforms for our upcoming events, and we do have other sessions coming up, so you guys can just look out for those updates on our platforms. And thank you guys so much for making the time to join us today. I did enjoy myself, and I know that you guys did as well. Thank you so much, and do have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.